Hey guys, John here. Super excited to be showing you this training here. This is some advanced optimization tactics we're going to be going over in this video. You should have already watched the training on optimization. You should have already learned, those are the three main elements. Ads, pre-sale pages, and offers is what you'll be optimizing. And again, hopefully you did the exercise where you tested two ads against each other in an ad network, and so you can see what happens, okay? So that's enough for that. We're going over into some advanced areas, and advanced optimization, I'm big on data analysis, and it's really easy way to make money. And being able to optimize and read data on a more granular level than just understanding the ad, the pre-sale, and the offer, it's not for everyone, because not everyone really enjoys looking at data all the time. But for me, this has been huge. So I'm going to go over into all of the different elements of optimization that are really important in what goes on. So I'm going to start off with some targeting levels of optimization. So targeting. Now targeting, there's a number of different ways you can do your targeting. Now obviously I recommend you use lookalike audiences or similar, you use customer lists to advertise to wherever possible, okay, wherever possible. So you're just advertising to people that look like your buyers. Now, it's not always possible in every single, in some of the native ad networks, it's not possible. So you've got to advertise to specific topics or categories or placements, websites, keywords, and we'll talk about all those. So on Google, we'll start with Google. Now, with Google, you might be advertising on different keywords people type in. So maybe people are typing in make money online. Maybe people are typing in jobs where I can work from home. Maybe people on Google are typing in how to become an affiliate marketer or how to start my own Amazon store. In each of these cases, this is a different keyword that somebody's looking for. Somebody looking how to work from home, looking for a job where they can work from home is maybe different from somebody who's looking to make money online. Do you guys understand that? It might be the same thing, but somebody who's looking to make money online is probably an entrepreneur. They're probably more entrepreneurial. Where somebody looking for a work-at-home job wants way more direction. They just want to be hired and given direction. So it's going to be a different person in each of these cases. So, one layer of targeting that you can optimize by is keywords. Okay. Now, we'll just use different colors. Why not? Another way you might be optimizing your targeting is you might be advertising on different placements, or placement is another word for website. Google calls them placements. Native ad networks call them widgets. I know that seems weird, but basically, let me just explain this real quick. Let's say we have a website. Then you have your banner and blah, 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 blah. You have your face. And then you have maybe a big ad unit, right? And this is where some of the native ads are suggested. Wait, let's just write that. This is where some of the native ads, or what's called the suggested content. Have you guys ever been on a website and it said recommended stories or other recommended articles for you to read? Right here. Those are native ads. And they call them widgets. That's how you optimize. They call them widgets because for the webmaster, for the person who owns this website, let's say HuffingtonPost.com or The Blaze or FoxNews.com or AOL.com, what they're doing is they're placing what's called a widget on their site, which is basically a piece of code. And in that piece of code, just show ads. You know, ads are being triggered. So you optimize on native ad networks by widgets. Now Google calls this same thing, they call them placements, okay? Two words, same thing, okay? Because maybe the Google ad, maybe this up here, this banner is the Google ad. So this ad is triggered by Google, this ad is triggered by native ad networks, okay? What we're doing is we're just trying to find ways to reach people. So you could reach the same person on the same website through two different means. Does that make sense? So, now that's widgets and placements. Other ways you can optimize targeting. And again, the way this would work is you're advertising on 10 different websites or 10 different widgets. How you would optimize them is you would just cut out the ones that are getting bad click-through rates or bad conversion rates, cut the ones that are losing you money, and you stick with the ones that are making you money. Hope that makes sense. The next level here, other ways of targeting. Some websites or some ad networks, like let's go with Facebook now. Facebook, you can optimize by age. So if we were to split test ages, so we can optimize and find what is the core audience of people, we would set up different advertising targeting maybe 25 to 30-year-olds, 30 to 35-year-olds, 35 to 40-year-olds, right? So now we have two different age groups, and we figure out which one is receiving our ads better, which one has the higher click-through rate, and then whatever has the lower click-through rate, we axe. So age. Another targeting method is gender. So we can go on and on here, but basically gender, age, marital status, different, relationship status, whatever Facebook allows you to target people by, that's an example. Other ways you can optimize targeting are like topics or categories. So some advertising networks allow you to say, I want to give my ads to people that are interested in health and beauty. Or some ad networks say, I want to show my ads to people who are interested in Oprah Winfrey. On some ad networks you can say, I want to advertise on business-related websites. So the next level is topics or categories. Okay. Now I'd say that's a little bit on advanced optimization for targeting, and we're going to go into more elements. What you have to be mindful here is basically what you're often doing is you're excluding, and this is part of building what I call building your blacklist. You're figuring out what works and what doesn't, and you're just refining things as you go along. Now, part of this program, obviously, I've given you a bunch of, I've given you blacklists Well, yeah, I've given you blacklists of what widgets don't work from my own experience, because where I spend a lot of my time, I spend a lot of my time placing ads on different websites in different places, and I spend a lot of my time testing out new headlines and testing out new images. You'll think of more things to do than me. It's just mixing and matching and filling in the blanks, or changing headlines. Oh, big make money online gurus hate him, or internet whiz kid makes $1 million online. Just mixing and matching headlines, you get the idea. But I've created my own ideas of what works, what widgets work on different ad networks, for instance, and what don't work. And that information I've given to you. So if you go into the targeting page, you'll see that you have whitelists and you have blacklists. And those whitelists are going to give you the exact widgets that I've targeted and been successful on. Now those blacklists are the widgets that lost me money, or that were just fraudulent traffic. So that means when you are working with whatever ad network you're working with, you can get that same information. You can literally pick up where I left off, because again, if you're a part of my team, if you're promoting programs, if you're a part of my affiliate program, we're vested, so I want you to carry the torch and become as successful as humanly possible, okay? So let's move onwards. Let's just... Okay, so part two of advanced optimization. There are a number of other different ways you can optimize your advertising. So we discussed targeting. Ads are pretty straightforward, and ads are going to be the main thing that you're optimizing for. But I would also encourage testing elements on your pre-sales. So your pre-sales. And what those elements are is, I've discussed what are the major elements of pre-sale page. The major elements of pre-sale pages are basically the headline, the main image, the call to action, those would be the main elements that you can test on your pre-sale pages. Now, here's some more advanced tactics. Okay, these are more related to I guess, what sort of computers your ads are showing up on. So I'm just going to kind of list some of these off. One is devices. Okay, devices is a huge one. Is your ad, your pre-sale page, and your offer getting you a better ROI on mobile devices, on tablets, or on desktop computers, right? So some people won't necessarily buy on a mobile phone. People don't like to make large purchases on mobile phones. On a desktop computer, when people have time to do research, they might be more apt to buy. It depends on what sort of product you're selling, okay? Maybe maybe whatever you're advertising doesn't, maybe you're using your own pre-sale pages and they don't show up on mobile. So, right, if you're creating your own pre-sale pages for different products, they just might not show up on mobile correctly because you never thought to mobile optimize them. Okay. Again, I recommend you use ClickFunnels for everything because they do a lot of this stuff for you, but the fact still remains. Devices. The next thing is, this is a really interesting one. Let's go into this, device type. So we'll go into a few underneath this. We'll switch it up to blue. Device type, that means what actual type of phone are you advertising on? Is it an iPhone, or is it a Samsung? Is it a Note? Is it a Note, Galaxy? Is it a Nokia phone? What devices are working best and what devices are working bad? And oftentimes the device type, you can see all of this data. And by the way, to visualize a lot of this data, you'll need to use some more advanced tracking software. So for advanced optimization stuff, I actually highly recommend you use a click tracking tool. So a click tracker is something like Volume, which is what I currently recommend. And there's a number of other click tracking tools out there, but this is for, once you've already gotten started, once you're making conversions, that's when you're going to want to get one of these click tracking tools. Volume is $99 a month as of the time I'm talking about this, and that's what I use. So device type, it can how your ads show on different devices can change, and what you do is you say, let's say your product is not your pre-sale page or your product, or your pre-sale page or the offer you're advertising are not showing up correctly. They might not show up correctly on a Nokia phone because they're not optimized for low bandwidth connections. Okay, or maybe you're doing very poor on maybe certain phones aren't rendering your pre-sale page because you've edited it and you've created your own. So that's a big thing to look out for. And you could say, wow, you're making great money on iPhones, but everybody else, you're just, your pre-sale page doesn't show up correctly. So that's a big inhibiting thing. And again, when you're working with my own affiliate program, you don't run into those issues because everything's optimized along the way. In terms of the next level would be connection. So connection type is how are people connected to the internet. So basically, if they're connected on a desktop computer, are they connected through a Wi-Fi connection or are they connected through a carrier connection? So let me grab. How many people, lots of carrier, I don't know how many people are here using 2G, 3G, 4G, but basically these things, if you're through, lots of people have limited data, and if you are trying to, if you're advertising on mobile devices that are connected through carrier connections, it might be harder to load web pages that have images that are, maybe if there's an image or a video, it's going to take very long for that page to load. Or in fact, if they're on a carrier connection, they might not even be able to load the page because they just don't have enough data or they have too low of a connection. So that's a big thing to look for. And if you're advertising on mobile devices, if you're doing mobile, and generally this is most pertinent for, especially if you're doing mobile CPA offers, this is a big deal. So you want to, maybe you only want to advertise on Wi-Fi connected devices. So what I've seen is Wi-Fi connected devices generally convert better and more people buy off of a Wi-Fi connection than off of a carrier connection. Does that make sense? So if you can cut, and that's a great thing, if you can just cut out carrier, people who are connected through, their cell phone data, you actually you can save a lot of money because, the pages just aren't loading as fast, or they're not loading at all, or people just don't want to use as much internet bandwidth to find things in those cases. Big deal. And this is probably one of the biggest deals if you're doing mobile advertising. Some sort of mobile CPA offers, you only want to advertise to carriers because you're going to do carrier billing, etc. Okay, let's do the next one. I would say, let's do browser and browser type. Now the browser people are connected through is usually either Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, Internet Explorer, or Opera. And what a lot of people do is when they're creating their own pre-sale pages, they create something that might not show up correctly. They might create a pre-sale page. Let's say you're building it in ClickFunnels and you're super excited because you're building this awesome pre-sale page, and it looks great, it really sells the product, you're using before and after images, and you've got like a real catchy headline, and there's a video that plays, and you preview your page, and it looks great, plays great, all that stuff. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna split test my own pre-sale page, like that's a big deal as a marketer. If you're creating your own pre-sale pages, whoa, you just moved up a notch. Now, maybe it looks great on Google Chrome, but you never checked it out on Mozilla Firefox. You never looked at it on Internet Explorer. You never looked at it on Opera. And there's easy ways to, all these browsers are free. Maybe you never rendered it on a mobile phone either. But you want to know what sort of browser your people are using. You want to see if you are getting consistent click-through rates. The way to optimize is look to see if you're getting consistent click-through rates across all the different browsers. One of the most common things I see is the website or the pre-sale page shows up great on Chrome and Firefox, but nothing is working on Internet Explorer. And let's say I'm advertising to an older audience. I used to advertise gold investment related offers, okay? As part of a gold investment affiliate program. Now, in that case, the audience was very old. The typical person was 80 years old or in their 70s that were investing in gold. And yes, there's a lot of people using the internet that are older. Oftentimes they were using Internet Explorer, and Internet Explorer, just a lot of the new feature, it just is horrible at loading images. It doesn't show shadows. Many videos won't load on Internet Explorer. There's a lot of problems with Internet Explorer that we have to be mindful of if we're going to be a massive marketer, and especially market to an older demographic. So what you want to do is you want to, and by the way, I just suggest use Google Chrome if you're watching these videos. I don't know why people use Internet Explorer. But you have to look at that, and even more so, I look at actually what browser version. I not just look at the type of browser, Firefox, Chrome, Safari, Opera, but I actually also sometimes look at the version, especially in relation to Internet Explorer, because I want to make sure my advertisements go big. I go big. And my goal is to have an ad campaign where I can spend tens of thousands of dollars per day and show my ads to everybody. To do that, I want to make sure my pre-sale pages are showing up right across everybody's devices. So I look at Internet Explorer and I'll make sure my pre-sale page shows up correctly on Internet Explorer version 8 or 7. I want it to look good on even the old browser types that people are using. And if it doesn't, what I'll do is I'll see what's not looking right, and I'll go into ClickFunnels and I'll change things around. Now again, one of the benefits of working with my affiliate program and my pre-sale pages is you're already given, you know, stuff that works and shows up right. So, you know, duh. Okay, we covered that. Guys, some of these elements are kind of advanced. I hope this is all making sense. And let me know, as always, in the comments what you guys think. Okay, OS. Okay, two more things. Just had to check my notes real quick because there's a lot of different elements here, as you see. The two other big elements are, let's draw a line here. Okay, let's do OS. So operating system this is either going to be, generally it's going to be iOS or it's going to be Windows. Or it's going to be something like, basically you're going to be seeing iOS and Windows and maybe something like a different, I think there's like different things for mobile phones, like Windows on mobile phone is called something different. It's like the Chrome, I don't know, I think it's like Chrome or something, like Google has their own thing. But basically, you're gonna look at the actual operating system. That's what OS stands for. And sometimes, I haven't seen this be a big factor, honestly, but sometimes you can see different performance on different OS, and it's just something to look into. I've only actually had to ever care about OS once, or maybe once in my entire career, and that was when we were spending, my company was spending like $25,000 a day on a really big ad campaign we had running for a weight loss offer. And we're in my offices, by the way, so I don't know if you guys can see, but what my company was, basically we're spending $25,000 a day, and we were showing so many ads to so many millions of people all over the world, we were everywhere. Everybody was seeing our ads, and we were just sending massive loads of traffic. And some people thought our ads were too, I guess we saw different performance on a certain version of an OS, and we realized that that's because we'd got a couple complaints that our ads were too aggressive through like whatever software came pre-installed. You know, there's like Norton antivirus or something that came pre-installed with some version of Windows, and you know, it had triggered, and it was causing our conversion rates to drop on a couple different versions of Windows devices. Random, right? Totally random, totally crazy scale, not something to worry about if you're spending less than $10,000 a day or less than $25,000 a day. So when you get to that point, you'll have bigger problems, hopefully, but that was pretty cool. That was a pretty cool ad campaign. And we go over that. We go over some of those ad campaigns. The next thing is location. What are we at on time, by the way? Cool. So location is another optimization factor that, and by the way, I ask what we're at on time because I want to make sure that we're working this into your schedule. If you've noticed, trying to keep the videos between 20 to 40 minutes because I really want to make sure I'm giving you information in chunks that you can deal with, given every one of us, many people have, JOBs or whatever. So let me know if that works for you, the 20 to 40 minute time frame. Or conversely, let me know if you prefer things generated, done differently. But generally, I found that time frame, 20 to 40 minutes, was a good time frame for each day of work. And we'll have an exercise at the end of this. So location, I look at a few different factors. Okay, I'm looking at 3 different things in location, and it's not really that, actually I'm gonna put some more. Well, I'll put some more in a second. The country, if I'm advertising, when I do my advertising, I advertise big. I advertise US, Canada, UK, Ireland, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Bahamas, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Singapore, Hong Kong, and any other country that speaks English if I'm doing an advertisement. I'm always going after all of the English-speaking world, and what I do is I throw my stuff out there, and I will optimize, and I will cut out countries that are not working, that are or are not working, okay? Generally speaking, I'm going to give you some rules of thumb here. Ireland, for whatever reason, never performs well on the advertisements that I've done, especially in the make money online space, which is what I assume everyone here is working in, because I'm hoping that you guys are part of my affiliate program and we're working together on this, okay? Which is the way it should be, and I've paved the path for you extremely easily to move along that route. Ireland, pretty bad place, but I mean, it's a beautiful country, but never been there, but I'm, like half Irish. I don't know if you've noticed with the beard, but basically really bad place to advertise. Now, if maybe someone is from Ireland, can figure out a way to reach Irish people in a way that makes sense to them, that'll be great. Generally, I say UK kind of underperforms in terms of conversion rates. People are more when it comes to opportunities to, online educational products, they're a little more skeptical. Now, moving onwards, the highest ROI countries I advertise in, the highest ROI by far. There's not a lot of volume there, but it's great ROI. Are international countries that speak English, but that have very, very cheap advertising. Why? Everybody just wants to throw their ads to US and Canada. I don't know. I think people are lazy. The best countries are countries like Bahamas, Seychelles. There's a big expat population in Mauritius, Panama, Costa Rica, there's an American population, Guam, Samoa, British Virgin Islands, US Virgin Islands, Singapore for sure. And many of these other countries, St. Martin, St. John's, Cayman Islands, etc. All of these countries, oftentimes they're island nations, or they're countries where there's a large expat population. The UAE is another one, the United Arab Emirates, which is where Dubai is, and Abu Dhabi. There's a lot of international people there, and they all speak English. These countries are gold mines for anybody advertising products that can be sold in these countries. They're gold mines, and you can work and you can advertise those countries through my affiliate program. So really easy Really easy, great. And it's a great testing bed if you want to have a small place to start. Just advertise to people in the Bahamas. And or just advertise to people in Puerto Rico and or the Dominican Republic or Jamaica, etc. And you'll be having a very niche audience to target to and test your stuff with. So that's just a little thing. Countries. Love finding new countries. Or not finding new, but testing out new countries. The next thing is region. So regions within countries, especially big countries, what you'll see is different regions do perform differently. So in the United States, you want to look at what specific states you're advertising in. And you might want to cut certain states out. Okay? So maybe for me, for instance, I might not want to advertise in Connecticut. Everybody in Connecticut is basically rich. So I don't want to I'm looking for people who want to spend time doing online education to make money online. Also, most people in Connecticut are old money. Connecticut isn't a state that performs particularly well for my advertisements, so I cut it out. Why? I have my own ideas. I think it's because there's so much old money that people think that the only way to get rich is to actually be rich already, or to be friends with a rich person, which sucks. But I think you should be friends with rich people. But the point is, people in Connecticut, I don't believe you can get online education to learn how to be successful. Right, so I just don't think it's the right mentality. Whereas if you're advertising in a state like Hawaii or Alaska, there aren't opportunities to make money. It's all the opportunities are seasonal. All the jobs and the work are seasonal, so they don't really have a lot of stuff to do in the other times of the year. So those are going to have higher performance and higher ROIs, I assume, because when there aren't tourists, or when there aren't fish in the sea to catch, or it's all snowy in Alaska, you have to find some way to make money, and it has to be using the internet. So I think those are great places to advertise online education to. And even cities, I don't generally cut out specific cities when I'm advertising. I generally don't get this granular. But I will look at my advertising occasionally at the city level just to understand what places people are living in. And what I look for is what cities have the highest ROIs and what cities have the lowest ROIs. What cities have the highest click-through rates? What cities have the lowest click-through rates? Because that informs me about just my audience and who I'm advertising to and what they like to see where. So if I'm really popular in Boise, Idaho, that's interesting. I'm not from Boise. Why is that? Maybe I'll do some research on the city and get to understand the economy out there and what the weather's like and what people do for a living and are people college educated or not. I just want to understand my audience when I'm advertising to a particular audience. Like you guys. That's why I like hearing you guys in the comments. I learn a lot. Next is, these are some advanced tactics. I don't think they're really necessary, but there are elements you can look at. So again, if you're I suggest if you're going this route, if you're going the advanced optimization route, which generally speaking, you should be profitable. You shouldn't invest in extra click tracking software, and you shouldn't care about any of this unless you're already doing successful. So this training may be premature and is likely premature for many of you, okay? For many of you, and I want you to keep that in mind. Again, confusion is growth. If you are confused, it means you are out of your comfort zone, and it means you are growing. But again, this information may not necessarily apply to you. So if you're confused by this, don't worry. It's really not necessary until you're actually making some money. But again, I suggest you use Volume, which is the click tracker that I use and that I recommend. unless I have another click tracker I'm using. I'll put it in the links below. But basically, this allows you to see all this data. I look at ISP, and I also look at IPs. ISP stands for Internet Service Provider. I also look at IP addresses. I look at IP addresses sometimes to see if I'm getting a lot of hits from a particular IP address, because sometimes it means it's another affiliate marketer who found one of my ads, who found one of my pre-sale pages, and they're just checking it out, they're stealing it, whatever. And they're not a part of my program. Gives me an idea of what maybe, if, you know, I work at the level, you know, I've worked at the level where there's more competition, and I want to know who's stealing my, you know, if I'm advertising really big, I just want to know who are these big guys that are really checking me out. So I generally say, okay, who's, you know, I'm advertising on this website, and, you know, I see somebody, you know, somebody else's, maybe they want to advertise there as well. So I just want to know who they are. And same thing for ISP. Sometimes what people do when you're spending tens of thousands of dollars a day, sometimes there's people that will try to like DDoS you. DDoS is distributed denial of service attack. So I've had people that I just, you know, I was spending all of the money on, you know, I'm like just rampaging through the internet with my ads, and people wanted to cut me. They wanted to cut me out because at this time I was advertising some weight loss products. I wasn't selling online education, I was selling weight loss products, and there were only a limited quantity of weight loss products to sell, but I was selling them all. And that didn't make other people happy because they wanted to sell those products and they wanted to get those high commissions that I was getting on this product. So they just were attacking me, they were taking my, you know, my ads down, they were trying to make my servers crash because, you know, and I saw, what was it? I saw over 1 million visits to one of my pre-sale pages in less than an hour, and it was causing the load times of my sites to just my sites weren't loading. And I was like, what the heck's happening? And I looked at volume and it said 1 million visits to one of my pre-sale pages. And I was like, what the heck's happening? And I basically saw it was all coming from one range of IP addresses that were at a data center. And once I basically just set a rule in volume, and I said, disallow, disallow all of these ISPs, and that fixed everything, which is kind of cool. So, and they weren't able to crash my sites, but it was also because I think I was driving up the prices of clicks on this particular ad network because I was like spending so much. That's it. There's a lot of stuff. Again, none of this is necessarily important. I'm going to have a link to volume or something below this. But if you're at this place, feel free, get yourself some click tracking software, start playing around with this data and have some fun. So guys, also, as always, make sure you guys are on the weekly webinars. I love going over data. So if you're doing some advertising, I'd love to see your data. I'd love to see screenshots of your data. So on the weekly like campaign analysis sessions, come prepared with some screenshots. Come prepared with some questions. Come prepared with some data to show me, and I will go over it. And if you don't understand it, I will help you understand. There's no sort of question I like more than questions backed up with data and links to your URLs or your ads. And second thing is, guys, keep grinding and let me know what your thoughts are about this video in the comments below. And the exercise I would say for today is get yourself volume, get yourself this click tracking software, and start the process of setting up an ad campaign with volume and see how that all works. Cool? Great. Have a good one, guys.